Good evening. If you could please take your seats, we'll go ahead and get started here in just a second. Good evening, and welcome to the Osceola County School Board meeting for Tuesday, June 15th. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the school board meeting, and if you would, please join me in silencing your phones as we get started. I'd like to go ahead and call the Tuesday, June 15th school board meeting to order. We begin each one of our meetings with an invocation, which tonight will be led by Pastor Rod Evans from Trinity Church, Nain City. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Chris Todd, Assistant Principal at the Hochelaga High School. Our mission statement will be led by Yara de la Fuentes, a principal at Boggy Creek Elementary. Translation services will be by Dr. Lestinia Penaloza, our Executive Director of Multicultural Learning. So if you would please rise with me for the invocation.
Dear eternal God, our Father, we say thank you for your amazing benefits that you bestowed on each of us on tonight. We thank you for the opportunity that we can come together as people and pray together on tonight. Thank you for your divine protection individually, both individually and collectively, as we navigate through the midst of this pandemic, COVID-19. As God, as we invoke on your presence and your wisdom upon this meeting tonight, order our steps. Grant us the ability to be better servants of Osceola County School District and the community at large. We ask for your guidance and we ask for your grace to lead. Dear God, we ask that you bless our students, our faculty, our administrators, and our board members, to each that they can reach their God-given potential. These things we ask in your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. I want Summers here.
Osceola County's mission statement: inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Lestinia Penaloza and I am here to provide interpretation services. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Dr. Lestinia Penaloza y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de interpretación.
Thank you very much. Brings us to our board and superintendent comments. Dr. Pace, we'll start with you this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Thacker and members of the board. With your permission, I'm going to yield my time tonight to a student from Neo City Academy, Zadiel Brignani. Zadiel has prepared a report for you called Electrify Osceola, and he is eager to share his research about sustainable environmental impacts of electric buses. And I'm going to take a point of privilege in saying that Zadiel's grandmother worked side by side with me at Poinciana High School for a number of years, served our district, and we're very proud of Zadiel and your family's impact here in our community. Go ahead.
Thank you, board members, for your time, and thank you, Dr. Pace, for the opportunity to be here today and present my project to you. So my project is Electrify Osceola, creating a sustainable learning environment together. So I've provided some district statistics. These are provided from Mr. R.V. Creech, Director of Transportation. So pretty much the average morning route is 67 miles and afternoon route is 98 miles. And the cost per gallon of diesel is $1.55. The average fueling cost per bus per year is $3,456. and the SDOC spends $1.38 million to fuel our fleet of buses. I would like to highlight the carbon dioxide emissions for our county, which is 19 million pounds. Okay. So battery electric buses, it's interchanged with BEVs throughout the presentation. So BEV general information, so just one BEV is the equivalent of 170 Volkswagen Passats, and they have a range of 120 to 150 miles. They're available from vendors that have worked with the school district, and it saves the district operational costs. They pay themselves over their lifetime, and they generate money for the school district. So some advantages, since it is electric, it cuts down on the amount of wiring compared to a normal diesel bus, and it cuts down around 40% of the parts from a normal vehicle. This cuts down the time that it has to be maintained since there's no oil changes and things like that. So right now there's a rising technician shortage, and the school district can actually avoid those effects with these buses. Another benefit is noise pollution. They are electric, so they're not emitting as much noise. In the morning, you have buses 4 in the morning out, you don't have to worry about all that noise and for our families. And with the cost of diesel on an incline, they provide a stable, viable alternative to diesel buses. So some vendor statistics, there's 2 different options from my understanding that are available to the school district. You have Thomas and Bluebird. Thomas has a 135-mile range, 81 passenger capacity, 2 to 3 hour charge time, and an 8-hour charge time with AC charging. Now with Thomas, it's currently the buses that we have on our streets. It's called the C2, and that's just their electric version of that bus. And the cost for that bus is $360,000, and the price to charge the bus is $27. The Bluebird is the other option for these buses. That has a 120-mile range, a 155 kilowatt-hour battery capacity. To charge the bus, it's $19. Now, I use the KOA rate because that is for the main compound at Simpson, and the cost per bus is $350,000. So let's go over a little bit of charging. So this is a diagram just so you have an idea of the charging. There's 3 different levels, level 1, 2, and 3. The fastest is 3, which is DC fast charging. That gets you the charge time of 2 to 3 hours that these companies advertise. With the level 2 charging stations, that's AC, so that's pretty much what you use for your dryer and things like that. It's a 240 volt, and that's going to get you a longer charge. It's going to be faster than the slow charging at home. And with the slow charging at home, it's actually what your normal outlet. So it's 120 volts, and there you're looking at more than 10 hours to charge the bus. So one of the charging solutions available is the Proterra system. Proterra allows for bidirectional power flow. So actually they have inverters in the chargers, so it actually increases the life expectancy of the buses because you're not doing the conversion from AC to DC on the bus, you're doing it on the charger instead. So Proterra has a customer base locally with FSU, the City of Tallahassee, Lynx, and OUC. And the cost for Proterra, so for 4 charging stations or 4 dispensers, it's $66,000, and for 1, it's $42,500. Now, this is the way that the district can actually generate money with V2G. So to put it in the simplest terms, V2G is when during the day, when there's not a lot of people at their homes, they're at work, that's when the buses are going to charge because energy rates are actually lower. At night, you have 6 to 12 when everyone's at home, they're using their air conditioning, things like that. That's when the buses, they're going to put the energy that they have and they're going to put it back into the grid. And that gives the district a credit from that electricity that's going back into the grid. And they're in charge at 2, 3 in the morning when not a lot of people are awake. That's also when it's cheaper, so that's when they're in charge. This is another option that districts are using around the nation because companies will lease them. They'll lease the buses to you because they'll make the profit from the V2G. So grants, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection had a $57 million grant, and the EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, had a $46 million grant for electric buses. There's more funding being made available in the upcoming future, and I'm currently looking and researching to see what other grants are available. An alternative is to reach out to local utilities, KOA, Duke, and OUC, which all 3 service our compounds. Duke in North Carolina launched a program to actually give districts money to make these electric buses, so there's just more opportunities to look into. So what are other districts doing? So Zeeland Public Schools, which has a student population of 6,241, they were able to lower their operational costs from 34 cents to 17 cents per mile. And they were able to reduce their carbon dioxide emissions by 45 metric tons. And Montgomery County Public Schools, which has a student population of 162,000, they're introducing 300 electric vehicles over the span of 14 years. They're using the leasing option with the B2G with Highland Electric, and they own and maintain the buses, as in like Highland would. And they're starting with 25 buses, and they're going to exponentially grow the program. And locally, Orange County Public Schools announced in March that they're going to implement 4 to 6 VEBs for a test period, and they're planning to expand if successful. Yep, and that is the presentation.
Bravo.
Whose kid is this?
Where's the family? Stand up. Stand up. Fantastic job, young man. We need you two to sit on a committee because we want to make more of him. Fantastic.
At a certain point, I forgot that this was a student. I was taking notes and doing math problems, trying to figure out the word. And I was like, hey, I want some of these buses. What a tremendous, tremendous job you just did. We have had adults who haven't come close to your skills and being able to present an idea as thoroughly and as easily as you just did. Kudos to you. Kudos, Mom.
Thank you.
Tremendous job.
Good job.
Anybody else? Great job, thank you very much. Very cool.
Yeah, the kid, you just earned a $57 million deal.
I don't think anybody's got comments after that. Mr. Bass?
I gotta give him a point after that.
What's Tanya's turn? Tanya, you got anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, it's nice to have a full. It's kind of ironic not to have a full room in the summertime, but thank all of you for coming. And again, I always want to thank all the teachers. I always do, and I hope you're enjoying the summer break. There's some of you out there who have wanted to get a little bit more of her teaching summer school, and God bless you. And I hope your summers go well. Just a couple quick things. I want to thank Mr. Phelps for helping me with a few students right there at the end who were coming in under the wire with ingenuity, and everything turned out great. Thank you so much. And we had some transportation questions with the bus route to Keansville, and that was all solved too. So thanks again for that. My last thing, I want to extend sincere condolences to the Cooper family, Libby and the brothers and all of the family. You know, we lost Mr. Cooper, Chuck Cooper. He was our city councilman for City of St. Cloud. He was a good friend. I've known him most all of my life, and he died unexpectedly this week. So I just want to send condolences out to his family. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, young man, would you come up here, please? I just come all the way up here. I just want to extend to you a little gift that I gave to the guys who just do some awesome service, a little military memento there. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Yeah. So I had an awesome experience at the FSBA this past week. Truly just a ton of things to learn, a ton of relationships to build. It was getting better at your job is something that everybody should take seriously, and this was just one of those opportunities to become a better board member. Two, I met yesterday with a great teacher and a group of teachers who were just very candid with me and taught me a lot about what it means to be a teacher and just how compassionate and how passionate you are about your field. I have a letter that I was written by a teacher, which I'll read later. Trust, Transparency, and Good Governance Committee. I just want to thank the people who were a part of that. That work will continue. And I wanted to thank the Alliance for Public Schools, who did an awesome presentation earlier and who also just were very educational to me and who provided me with a great amount of information at FSBA. And lastly, our internal auditor, RSN, did a review of our facilities czar's department here, Mark Clinch. I harassed him and I kind of was like, hey, don't injure me, patting us on the back, you know. And but the fact is, they did a great job, and it just goes to show what a great job, Mark, that you're doing over there in facilities. Phenomenal, that report, I read that report multiple times, just looking for something, right? And it's just, you're doing a good job, and that was in a, you know, in a booklet. When somebody writes a booklet telling you you're doing a great job, you're doing a great job, so
Thank you, sir.
kudos to you.
I owe it all
Yeah.
to the team at facilities. Thank
Well,
you.
good job. So thank you very much, that's all I got.
Steve?
Thank you so much. So I also attended FSB. I know typically we want to highlight the things that are happening locally, which I think is very important. So I would just ask for a moment of privilege from our community to pause from that and just really uplift the work that was done at Florida School Board Association, for those of you who don't know. So we are part of that community, and it is really important for us to take a moment back as school board members, get ourselves educated, and really participate not only in the conversation about what's happening locally for schools, but also how do we participate in the conversation at a bigger level, a larger scale. So I was very grateful that we were able to participate in that, so thank you so much for the investment that it takes for us to go. I do want to go ahead and just give a couple of highlights. We all attended some breakout sessions to help us to understand better some of the issues that our students, our teachers, and our communities are dealing with. I'd like to highlight the mental health breakout session that I participated in. Kind of gave us an insight of how we can be better board members and how the work that we do affects our students every day. So I'm so happy to have been able to do that. I do want to congratulate Mr. Melendez. He is going to serve as on our board of directors. He's going to be my alternate. I will be the board of directors member for this team once again, so I'm very happy about that. And I'm also really excited to serve as the vice chair for the legislative subcommittee at Florida School Board Association. And I'm also very excited to be able to elect one of our board members to serve on that committee on a larger scale. So, you know, we do a lot of work locally, and I think that's so important. But as you know, if you attend board meetings, if you're a teacher, if you work anywhere within our school district, you know that a lot of the work that we do is mandated by the state. And so instead of just sitting back and saying, gosh, you know, I wish that someone would advocate for us, I'm proud that there are people on this board who are going to be advocating for you locally on a larger level. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, I think I have Stephen Montero in the lobby, if he could come in. But he doesn't have to come into the front, but if they can ask him to come in. As a recap, we went to the ALCO graduations, and oh my Lord, I've been to a couple different graduations, but there's nothing like an ALCO graduation. That's the Adult Learning Center, and they literally have like tissues for each one of us to have out there. And in the top 6 students get to have their inspirational story, because ALCO are non-traditional students who get their GED or their high school diploma later on in life. And each one of them had to overcome some kind of obstacle to get where they were. And to me, everybody is just as important. You know, the reality is people, they maximize their life at different points in their life, you know, because people come from different backgrounds and have different reasons. And to see them overcome that, and it was just amazing. I was floored by those efforts. So I want to thank those kids for really sticking to it and graduating. No matter how old you are, you're never too old to stop learning. The other lighter note is I went to the Osceola County Association of Realtors, and so they want to sponsor our first spelling bee, because we have a lot of events. And I was like, we don't have a spelling bee. You know, the old school ones where like, you know, you have like district competitions and everything like that. And so we're gonna have our first annual spelling bee next year, and the Osceola County Association of Realtors are sponsoring that and making that happen. So we'll talk about doing that. And without further ado, Mr. Steve Montero, and then I believe you're accompanied by somebody. Can you come on to the front?
She's not used to
Thank you. Thank you. Come on up to the front here. Now, Trooper Steve, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that,
No.
but, oh, okay. Well, Stephen Montero, come on in the middle, in front. I really want to acknowledge him. You know, he was just somebody that's been really, everything that we asked for him, he says yes to. You know, we have our Teacher of the Year award ceremonies. He's like, yes, I'll be the MC, and he's done that for a couple of years. And then when we had the unfortunate incident at Liberty High School, we had our SRO task force, and I asked him, you know, because sometimes, you know, we have too many people that are in the fight, and you don't want to be able to have an objective view on it. So I wanted somebody that's from Osceola County, but wasn't really that involved, because I wanted to get good solid advice for recommendations. which, by the way, are gonna be on the board agenda tonight and that we're actually happy to implement. So he not only got permission from his station to be able to come in and be a part of the committee, then he was agreeing to be the chairman of the committee to actually lead it. And so I really, your sound advice was excellent, because sometimes we agreed and sometimes we disagreed. And that was democracy in action, because I remember we were looking at the survey questions and he was like, nope, I don't like this, I don't like that. And I appreciate that, because you made our recommendations credible, but also something that we can support. And so I think, and I want to thank you for your service. And if you want to say anything real quick, what was it like for you? And really, just thank you so much.
Well, for those that know me, I'm never a loss for words, so I promise I will keep it very short. Someone just like, yeah, he talks a lot. It was an honor and privilege to serve Osceola County. For those that not born and raised here, I've gone through the Osceola County school system. They don't call me Trooper Steve here because copyrights and all that fun stuff, but I'm a local news anchor, career law enforcement officer, and having the honor to really represent a group of professionals was amazing. Talk about a diverse group of people that came together for a committee to solve problems and build relationships. As a committee, we think we did that. And Julius, I thank you for trusting me. And I think that's what it was. It was about trust. The community trusted me. Julius and the board trusted me. That's why we're standing here. And I look forward to continuing to work with Osceola County, because this is home. So thank you.
So please join me in congratulating Mr. Steve Montero for chairing the board.
And July 1, we can take these off, right?
Yes, here's your Amazon gift card. And of course, in the tradition of the military style, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
support.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. And that concludes my report.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Julius, is that, you have more?
Yes, that concludes.
I actually have something tonight I want to kind of just talk about a little bit, because I've had a interesting little history lesson this week. And this past week, Osceola County lost a historical figure. You mentioned one. I'm going to mention another one, is Charles Martin. I would venture to say that most people in this room probably don't know who Charles Martin is, and quite frankly, I didn't either before last weekend. But Charles Martin was a man of extreme courage, I have to believe. He graduated from Osceola High School in 1966. He was the first black person to graduate from a white high school in this county. 1966 was a year before integration was enforced. It was the year that we had a black high school, Kissimmee High School, and it was optional. So many people chose to stay in their school for one more year. A few people chose to go ahead and make that step over. Charles Martin was one of those people. I cannot imagine in 1966 what that would have been like to be in his shoes. In 1966, I was in Mary Bryant Elementary School in Kissimmee as a first grader at that same time as integration was starting to happen. But Charles made that move, made it through the school year, was in line to graduate, to go through the ceremony and march across the stage like most of us do who graduate from high school, and was pulled out of the line right before the graduation and told he was not allowed to walk because of something that had happened in the community that they thought he might have been a part of. This is the story I'm told, and I've been told this by several people. So, but he was later, within a day or two or a couple days, the diploma was actually delivered to his house. So I think about that person, I've thought about that person a lot since last week, of having the guts and the courage to show up at Osceola High School in August to do his senior year. And I can't imagine what that took for someone to do. So I just wanted to mention Charles since he passed away last week. I think it is important to know who Charles is. I think it's important to realize what he did to start things moving. And I think the courage that he must have taken to do that is very hard for me to fathom. So Godspeed, Charles Martin, and I just kind of wanted to share that. So that is all I have. We will move on in the agenda to get my glasses on. I will know where we're going. Presentations. Dr. Pace.
Yes, Chairman Thacker and members of the board, just recently, Mr. David Phelps, principal of Tohopekalaga High School, had made the decision that he was ready to head back to Oregon to spend some time with his family. And we want to thank him for his 4 years of service to Tohopekalaga High School. If you want to come up, and please bring Christy with you. Mr. Phelps took a real chance 4 years ago. Looking for a principal to come and start the first high school that had opened in 10 years' time. And he did a fantastic job building that Tiger culture, and we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Mr. Phelps, thank you for your service. Mr. Doss, I wondered if you, because it was your district, wanted to come down with all due respect to Mr. Thacker.
I'm sure your son is happy.
I hope so.
He's coming home.
Thank you again for your service.
Dr. Pace, appointments and transfers.
Yes, sir. Mr. Thacker and members of the board, I am also once again excited to share with you tonight that we have amazing evidence of the work that's been done by our team across the community in developing leaders here in our school district. So we have a number of appointments and new positions that aren't new positions, but to help lead our leadership teams moving forward. And I will start with asking Mr. George Arscott to come to the podium. Mr. Arscott has big shoes to fill with your approval as the next principal of Tohopekalaga High School. He's been a teacher and a dean at Crystal River High School since 2006, a dean at Lake Nona High School, assistant principal at Liberty High School under Gary Pricer in 2017 to 19, and assistant principal at Harmony High School since 2019. And as he shared with us in the committee, he's had the opportunity to learn from two very strong leaders, very strong culture builders who approach the work very differently. And so now I'm absolutely confident that George will make it his own. He received his bachelor's degree in mentally handicapped, varying exceptionalities from the University of Central Florida, and a master's degree in educational leadership from National Louis University. And I think you're gonna look really good in orange and blue. My orange and blue, not his.
No, it's orange and blue.
That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Pace.
Oh, motion approved, motion approved.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez with a second by Mr. Arguello to approve Mr. Arscott as the principal of Toho High School. Board, any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0. Now you're the principal.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. Thank you, board, for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Phelps, for laying such a strong foundation at Tohopekalaga High School. I'm excited to continue moving that school forward. Thank you, Mr. Hickey, who's here tonight, Mr. Pricer, who always encouraged me and helped me build my leadership skills, getting me to this point. I'd like to thank my wife, Blythe, who's a teacher at St. Cloud High School, my daughter, Lauren, who is a rising 10th grader at Harmony High School, my daughter, Samantha, who's a rising 8th grader at Harmony Middle School, and my mom, Mary, who's here to support me, who's always been in my corner and my biggest cheerleader. I'm excited about the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you and good luck.
I'll tell a quick story. I hate that. His mother sitting there in the back. I was coaching Little League, coaching an all-star game, all-star team in St. about 20 years ago. We're on the field and we see this station wagon coming down the road, and there's a bunch of kids in the back of the station wagon. And they get out of the car and they come and say, "We need to sign up for baseball." And she has eight kids? Is that correct? 8 kids, and her husband raised 8 of those. Can you imagine? 2 girls, 6 boys. So we, as coach of Little League, you have a real dominant pitcher, and they come through and you say, "Gosh, I'm glad he's gone." Well, here comes another one. And then, "I'm glad he's gone." Well, here comes another one. So fantastic. I'm so proud of both of you, and it's gonna be, I'm looking forward to working with you.
And next board item 3.02, if I could invite Ms. Kelly Myers to come to the podium. Again, I want to say that we had 8 strong internal candidates for high school principal positions yesterday, and that is unheard of. 4 years ago, I had to go to Oregon to find one, so I was really super proud, and to everyone who interviewed yesterday, I'm proud of all of you as leaders, and we're gonna find the right opportunity for you. But Ms. Kelly Myers really brought a sense of passion and awe for serving not just as a principal, but specifically as the principal of Professional and Technical High School. She's been a teacher at Apopka High School, a teacher at Olympia High School, a teacher at Florida Virtual School, teacher and dean at Celebration High School, and then assistant principal at Celebration High School since 2013. She received her bachelor's degree in English education from Mercer University and master's degree in educational leadership from American College of Education. And as I said, she shared with the team how happily she would look forward to really investing in the staff and the students at Professional and Technical High School, working side by side with Ms. Collins, the principal at OTEC, to make that center just a dynamic place for both adults and kids to learn. So with your approval board, Ms. Kelly Myers, principal for Professional and Technical High School.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Arguello to approve Ms. Myers as the principal pass. Board, any further questions?
Yeah, I just want to say, I really appreciate past, being separated, because for some reason it wasn't. It was just an assistant principal. So I do want to appreciate Dr. Pace for listening and really responding to that concern. And I think that the students deserve it. And so I'm really excited that it's you, and, so we'll go ahead and make it happen.
Take it on.
Yes, ma'am. Congratulations.
Anything else? If not, I have a motion by Ms. Castillo, second by Mr. Arguello to approve Ms. Myers. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
I would like to thank the board and Dr. Pace, Mr. Flowers, Mr. Allen, Dr. Evans, and Mr. Phelps for giving me this amazing opportunity and believing in me. I want to thank Mr. Gilbert, my current principal, for his unwavering guidance, advice, and support throughout these past years. Jackie is here from my team, as well as deputy team, and Elfie. So I want to thank them for all their encouragement and support. I want to thank my husband, Tad, and my daughter, Anna, who's here with me today. My other daughter, Sydney's in Jacksonville working. Without their understanding and patience with long hours and exhausting days, I couldn't have made it where I am. And I'm very excited to meet the PATH team and can't wait to become a Patriot. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Next, we have item 3.03. If I could invite Dr. Nicowana Sloan up to the podium. Board members, Dr. Sloan has served as a teacher, dean, and assistant principal for Orange County Public Schools. She's been the testing coordinator for Lake County Public Schools and teacher and testing coordinator, learning resource specialist, and now dean at Osceola High School since 2015. She received her bachelor's degree in communication drama from Oral Roberts University and a master's and a doctorate in educational leadership from National Louis University. And she has expressed a sincere desire to again serve the adults and the students at the OTEC Poinciana Alco campus. So my recommendation as assistant principal at our OTEC Alco Poinciana campus.
Motion approved.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve Dr. Sloan as the AP at TICO, Alco, Poinciana campus. Board, any further questions?
Now, you were a veteran too, right? You served in the military?
Yes, sir.
In which branch?
Army.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. I tell you, I have to take 2 seconds, man. I went to Osceola High School. I think I might have told the story before, but it's with you in front of everybody. It was an amazing experience. I went there with you, and she was a dean on campus on a little golf court, and you can tell she was in the military because kids were snapping up. She knew which class they belonged to, which class they weren't in. She got on the radio. I felt like it was that movie Cops or that show house, people were calling her, and we went to the testing center, and the testing center was like, it was a nice, substitute that was having struggle, and they go, we need to call Dr. Sloan. Dr. Sloan went in there and got those kids dressed right dressed, and I'm telling you, you are exactly what this district needs. I'm so proud of you, Dr. Sloan. I couldn't get the motion, I'm sorry, man, I tried, my colleague beat me to it. But you're an amazing asset to this district, and I'm really glad that Dr. Pace saw that in you as well.
Thank you.
Board, have a motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Melendez, to approve the appointment of Dr. Sloan to Poinciana campus of Alco. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
I am tremendously blessed to have this opportunity, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your confidence, your vote of confidence in me to secure this position. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Pace and your amazing leadership team, Dr. Evans, Mr. Allen, Dr. Reyes, Mr. Flowers, all of you. I thank each and every one of you for every part that you played in this very moment. To my leadership mentors, which I have a few, and believe it or not, some of them have crossed counties with me. My very first employee was Gary Pricer. So I come from good stock, and I try to uphold everything that they've taught and put in me. To each of you, I want to say thank you. I'd like to also extend a special thank you to my cheerleaders at home, and if I may put my back to you for a moment. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for supporting me all through this journey, and I'll see you when I get home. My husband could not be here tonight, and thus the family is surrounding him at home, and we will duly celebrate this incredible moment when I return home. My appointment as assistant principal of Osceola Technical College is received as an opportunity for me to broaden and sharpen my leadership skills and capacity under your leadership. I appreciate this opportunity, and serving the Poinciana community will be my utmost pleasure. I am a proud daughter of a plumber who began his career with only a third-grade education. Though it began as an apprenticeship, my father emerged to own his own and operate his own plumbing business, which became one of the community's most reliable resources. He later completed his high school requirements and received his diploma at 50 years old. His actions spoke not only to the importance of perseverance and education in a life, but also to the non-traditional path in which to become a viable contributor to his community and other communities. It also provided him the opportunity to be an excellent provider. It is with him and others like him in mind that I accept this awesome opportunity to chart similar paths for them and their families in the Poinciana community. Thank you again for providing me this opportunity to serve in this capacity, and I will do so with unwavering compassion, integrity, knowledge, humility, and grace. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the school district of Osceola County.
God bless.
That brings us to item 3.04. If I could invite Dr. Lisa Renee Guilford to the podium.
My turn. I'm not as quick as they are, but
It is my honor tonight to recommend Dr. Lisa Renee Guilford to become the next assistant principal at Osceola County School for the Arts. She's been a teacher at Heyman Morris Middle School, at Challenger Charter Academy, the Champion Fee Middle School, and Sumera Middle School in Georgia. She was an assistant principal at Sumera Middle School in Georgia, an MTSS coach at Osceola High School since 2020. She received her bachelor's degree in education from the University of Cincinnati, a master's degree in education from the University of Phoenix, an education specialist degree in administration and supervision from Lincoln Memorial University, and a doctorate degree in administration and supervision from Liberty University. As we spoke the other day in our interview with Dr. Guilford, I noticed that she comes from Gwinnett County, Georgia, which has one of the most amazing superintendents, I think, on the national scale. And I remember what I heard him say that she shared with me. as far as it goes, they're the people working in the schools and everybody else. And everybody else is here to support the people working in the schools. So I know she brings that strong vision of leadership and service to the work, and I highly recommend her for your approval.
And I will move to appoint Dr. Gilbert to this position.
I'll
second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bass with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve Dr. Guilford as Assistant Principal of Osceola County School for the Arts. Board, any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Dr. Pace, school board members, associate leadership team, family and friends. I would like to thank Dr. Pace, Mr. Phelps, Ms. Flowers, Mr. Allen, Dr. Reyes, and Dr. Evans for giving me this opportunity and this new to serve in this new capacity. So first, I would like to give honor and thanks and praise to the Lord, Jesus Christ, who, for without him, this would not be possible. I'm grateful and thankful for his grace, mercy, and favor. Dr. Evans, I appreciate you and Dr. Reinhardt for your approval during my second interview, which began this journey, and for believing in me, your guidance and support. That preceded by Dr. Campbell, who took a chance on me. She trusted me and gave me the opportunity to demonstrate the skills and allowed me to be introduced and become part of the Osceola family. My current principal, Ms. Santiago, for believing in me and allowing me to further my opportunity to support our students and teachers here at Osceola High School. I'm grateful for her advice and words of wisdom. Mr. Bryant, the assistant principal there, for his initial assistance, advice, words of wisdom, continued support, and of course, all of the laughter. I would also like to acknowledge my mother, who passed away last December. She was always my biggest cheerleader. She taught me how to work hard and strive for my dreams. Though she's not with us in this realm, I know she is here with me spiritually and serving as my personal angel and smiling from heaven and beaming with pride and joy. I also like to thank my fiancé, David, for your ongoing patience, encouraging words, believing in me, and steadfast love. I'm glad that we're on this journey together. To my children, Miles, Hayden, and Kira, along with our grandchildren, Naima and Jackson, thank you for being patient through the long hours while I was on my doctoral track and being patient with me through the long hours of work. My desire is that I've been an example of what hard work and striving to set and attain goals looks like. I'm continuing to look to great things from each of you, and I love you. And to those friends and family members who have encouraged me and supported me along the way, thank you. To my OHS family, thank you for welcoming me. It's been a pleasure. And so at this point, I'm happy, I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to this endeavor, working hard, learning, and continue to further assist and develop teachers, impacting as well as celebrating and supporting students on their continued achievement at this level. Thank you.
Next, board members, we have item 3.05. If I could ask Ms. Catherine Hiltunen to come to the podium. Hiltunen, sorry. Board members, Ms. Hiltunen has held the following positions: teacher and dean of students at Horizon Middle School since 2003. She received her bachelor's degree in mathematics from West Virginia University and an educational specialist degree from Nova Southeastern University. She brings a tremendous amount of passion and energy to the work. She comes highly recommended from Mr. Allen as well as Mr. Ballone and others who've observed her work and have worked with her side by side at Horizon Middle School. And she absolutely is excited about really getting in there with Ms. Cavaney to move the culture and spirit of Mill Creek Elementary School forward. So it's my honor to recommend her, Ms. Hiltunen.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo, second by Mr. Arguello to approve the appointment of Ms. Hiltunen to Assistant Principal Mill Creek. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Dr. Pace, Mr. Flowers, Assistant Superintendent, board members. It is an honor to be appointed Mill Creek Elementary's assistant principal. I am very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to working with Ms. Cabernet and all of her teachers, all the staff members, all the students, and supporting that community. I will take what I've learned over the last 18 years at Horizon Middle School and take that leadership and move Mill Creek to the next level. I have learned from some amazing administrators. I first want to thank Ms. Neuer. She was a principal way back. She came to West Virginia and interviewed me in a small community college. She took that leap of faith and offered me a math position 18 years ago, and I'm still here. So she was my building block. Then Mr. Allen, a few years later, tapped me on the shoulder and said, I think you'd be a great leader. Why don't we try to be the math department chair? And from there, things just bloomed. I want to thank Mrs. Henninger. She was also a phenomenal leader who I have learned so much from. Dr. Hines, who's now in Hillsborough County, I believe, he was also an awesome leader. And obviously Mr. Ballone, who's my current administrator, who has just given me every opportunity to be the leader that I am today. I also want to thank my coworkers who are here to support me. They're my building block. They help me through all those difficult decisions, and I really, really appreciate them. I also want to thank my husband David, who's here, who had to listen to me and work with me, especially those long hours when I was in grad school. I want to thank my daughter Michaela and Joshua, who's here, and my son Christopher, who's watching. He had to work. I want to thank my Nana, who's here. She helps watch the kids when I have to work long hours. Thank my dad, who's watching from West Virginia. And then my mom, I found out yesterday, late afternoon, and she booked the first flight this morning and came all the way from West Virginia to be here. So I want to thank her. I'm super excited for this opportunity and to do amazing things and be a Gator. I've been with people for so many years, so I'm ready to wear that blue and green. So thank you so much.
And last but certainly not least, we have item 3.06. If I could invite Ms. Amanda Brown to come to the podium. Ms. Brown has been a teacher at Highlands Elementary School since 2010 to 2014, a teacher at Kissimmee Elementary School from 2014 to 2018, and currently serves as a learning resource specialist and AVID coordinator at Boggy Creek Elementary School since 2018. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida, a master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University, and she's very eager and excited to work side by side with Ms. De La Fuentes to move Boggy Creek back to being that AVID demonstration school that we know it should be, as well as a whole lot of other great things. So I'm pleased to recommend Ms. Brown.
I'll move to approve.
Because I didn't know who wanted to get the motion this time.
I'll move to approve.
There's nothing against you.
No, it's okay.
Fight over you.
Giving someone else the opportunity, I'm all for that.
Joyce, did you second that?
I guess so. Yeah, second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Bass with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve Ms. Brown as the assistant principal of Boggy Creek. Board, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. I do want to begin just by saying, first and foremost, thank you to my parents who are here and my brother. They're my biggest cheerleaders, my biggest supports, and I couldn't be more grateful for them. I also want to say thank you to my Boggy Creek family who is here to support me as well. I've grown with them over the last couple of years, and I'm super excited to grow with them even more. I'm also really thankful and grateful for Ms. De La Fuentes for believing in me, so thank you so much for this opportunity to serve Boggy Creek in another aspect. I've been there for the last 3 years, as noted, but I'm excited to serve them in a different way now. So I'm super excited to that and to bring our AVID demonstration school back to Boggy Creek. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of you for all of this opportunity. I'm very grateful.
Great job. Congratulations. And we love the fact that you're all here, but this is also a good time if you were here for this and you'd like to go to dinner or go do something more fun. This is a good time to take leave.
See you tomorrow.
I can feel it. I got feelings. Help me.
Let me go get my son. Make sure I still got him. You can start with that.
We definitely can start. Motion and a second to adjourn.
Never say aye.
I made a motion and a second to adjourn. And it passed overwhelmingly. 1-0. As soon as we get a quorum back, we'll start again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there you go.
I was trying to. I didn't know if she agreed.
Next up, as soon as Ms. Castillo gets back, will be agenda modifications, and I believe we do have a few. Let's let Terry get back. It must be summertime. This is a lively crowd. You're all right. Take your time. Agenda modifications. Dr. Pace, do you have some to go first?
Yes, sir, I apologize, sir, but we do have a couple of items that we needed to blue sheet due to some adjustments on the item 13.01, approval of the 2021-2022 school nutrition service agreements. Since the agenda was posted, Kissimmee Charter School has decided to provide their own food services, and PM Wells Charter Academy has had a change in management company, so we need to redo that contract agreement. So we're asking to pull both of those items. Everything else on that agenda item would remain intact. And then item 17.01 to 17.05, our facilities items have been added with the GMP that we were still negotiating at the time that the secure lobby projects for those five schools were being negotiated.
So those are just an update to the agenda items?
Correct. The blue sheeted copies have been placed at your seats.
Understood. Any other changes?
Item 21.01.
I'm sorry?
Item 21.01 is pulled.
Okay. Remove?
Yes.
Any others?
Yeah. 7.04
You're pulling it or
from consent.
7.04?
7.6. 710. 801. 918. 11.03. 11.04. 1501.
1501's in regular already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that one's this page.
Let me repeat it. Make sure I written it down right. You're pulling all these to the regular agenda, 704, 06, 710. 8.01, 9.18, 11.03, and 11.04.
Yes.
Any other changes or modifications, board? Okay. Would like to make a motion?
Motion is, to approve the consent agenda with the modifications.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Bass, to the agenda modifications and the consent. And just for the record, I will state those modifications. 21.01 will be removed, pulled from this agenda, removed. 13.01, 17.01, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have modifications, blue sheeted items. We will be removing from the consent agenda 7.04, 7.06, 7.10, 8.0, 9.18, 11.03, and 11.04. Did the motion maker and seconder agree with that?
Mr. Thatcher, it's 8.01, correct, not
Seven,
8.0?
yeah.
Okay,
8.01, I'm sorry.
thank you.
Mr. Melendez and Robert, do y'all agree with that?
Oh, yes, sir, I'm sorry, yes, okay.
All right.
My apologies.
Any comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. First item up will be 7.04. Mr. Arguello, do you have?
Yeah, Dr. Pace, my question regarding this is that, does St. Cloud High School have a pharmacy program? As far as, I didn't think that they did, but
No, sir, but the OTech St. Cloud campus has a pharmacy program,
the OTech St. Cloud
the
campus,
Farm Tech program, yes, sir.
right, do we have an other facility like this? That's what, I couldn't remember where it was, but I didn't think it was at Army or St. Cloud. The one at Liberty, right, which is a similar program, pharmacy program,
Yes,
is that right? Is there also a pharmacy out there?
they are getting clinical hours somewhere, I don't know where, but I can do that additional research.
Okay, and I'll motion to approve 704.
I'll second that.
Have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Bass. Oh, I'm having such a hard time with your name, though. To approve item 7.04, board, any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0, brings us to 7.06.
Yeah, so 7.06, I am very excited about WASED coming to District 3, these 3 schools in District 3. I'm hoping and praying that this program will, is there a representative from WASED here by any chance? No?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so I'm praying that this program will just provide our students with some fresh ideas and fresh opportunities to find careers that are in emerging technologies. I think that it's drones, there's some design classes and so on. So this is a great effort, a great program. I'm really praying and hoping that it's everything that we believe it to be and hope it to be. So with that, I'll motion for approval of 7.06.
I have a question. Now, is this a pilot?
Get a second first.
Second.
Yes,
Second.
no, he said,
He seconded.
Oh, you second? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 7.06. Mr. Melendez, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, Mr. I was wondering, is this gonna be like a pilot program that if it's successful, we can try to expand it? Or is it just like a temporary standalone grant and once it goes away, it just completely goes away or?
No, sir, our idea is to monitor and support implementation of the program, kind of get everybody's feet wet, see how it works, and then see which programs make sense to expand or where it makes sense to expand.
But we're not paying, it's not a grant actually, we're paying.
No, it's not a grant. WASED did give us, I believe, a $10,000 reduction in the price, so they
Right.
did negotiate the price with us. But it is something that we're using ESSER dollars to begin this initial investment in the program.
Oh, I was impression it was a full grant, so we're paying just a reduction in price and then we'll see how it goes. If it's successful, then we can continue rolling it out there.
And we have every intention of making it successful.
Okay, thank you.
Have any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 7.06. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 7.10, approval of medical assistant agreement JMJ.
Yeah, JMJ, I just wanted to acknowledge everything that JMJ does for our community. They are an absolutely tremendous organization. Super happy to see this on our agenda. And with that, I'll motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve 7.10. Any other further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to 8.01, approval of Second Amendment Agreement with School District in Valencia.
Yeah, this was just for Dr. Pace. Dr. Pace, can you kind of explain the arrangement that it's, we're paying $45,000 for these teachers from Valencia, right? And how does this compare in terms to having our teachers do this same work, for example?
New teachers come on board, they're certified to teach the Math for College Readiness course. So they are able to better prepare our own students for that initial level college algebra when they matriculate hopefully over to Valencia or over to another college experience. This is a part of our opportunity to, instead of just paying tuition for our dual enrollment students, we provide exchange in services in some respects. So we have a couple of counselors who support our students doing dual enrollment. And then we provided a few years ago these math teachers to try to help us strengthen that math programming at our high school level for those kids who are kind of on the bubble about going on to college with math. So it's been very successful.
Are these full-time teachers or are they just teaching like 1 or 2 courses?
No, they are full-time teachers. They teach a full slot of classes on our campus at our comprehensive high schools.
You get a discount for $45,000.
Exactly, the average it is. You're right.
For a college level professor to basically teach a math course. Great job.
I'm hoping it doesn't take away job spots for our teachers, but at the same time, I think it
Oh, no, sir.
Yeah, I know the problem.
We want all the help we can get finding math teachers, especially
Yeah.
trained ones.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay, so with that, I'll motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 8.01. Board, any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to 9.18.
Okay, so this one, obviously in 9.18 includes an add-on for an active shooter policy, and I'm wondering if this is as a result of losing SROs on campus, or if this would have been regardless an increase in this policy and the amount of the policy. So has this amount changed at all due to the fact that this is probably covering just our schools, I imagine, right? The charter schools each have their own policies and so on, but this doesn't cover the district as a whole, including those charter schools, does it?
This covers our district schools, and the active shooter policy was something recommended by our advisors. We debated whether or not to do that over the last couple of years, and this year we felt like the cost was manageable, and it made sense to get in front of that, particularly as you look at how some of the other cases have settled. But it is unrelated to any of the discussions about guardians, because, as it stands right now, the anticipation is that we will still have SROs for the upcoming school year.
And I imagine that if those SROs are removed, that number will increase drastically.
I have not looked at that. We've considered that as a potential additional liability. It's something we would have to work with our advisors on. And I also would like to, before I comment very much further, go back to what other districts have experienced when they implement the Guardian program. And that's certainly something that I can task Laura and the team with doing.
Great.
And on the premium comparison, there's not just the active shooter component. There's also, there's not a page, but it's like the first page, the line of coverage has law enforcement liability as an incident there. I didn't know that we were paying law enforcement liability. I thought they were employees of the sheriff's office. I thought the sheriff was paying the liability. Or what exactly is that covering? And then obviously with guardians, we'd have to cover that 100% as well.
I will just share with you based on experience. I know that we settled a case shortly after I arrived here as superintendent of a situation that had happened before with misconduct by an SRO that we also ended up being liable for. So both the district and the city were responsible for a liability in that particular litigation. Frank, do you remember? I believe it was agreed to
Yes,
in March.
we just resolved it last year. Here's the problem. They took us into federal court with the city, and the federal court would not dismiss us. So it really was a business decision to get out of this case, because the problem in federal court is your legal fees and cost are multiplied off the chart, because everything's got to be done with legal memos. It's so different than state court. So we bought ourselves out for chump change.
I thought you did this for free for us, right?
Now, did they find us,
Pardon me?
did they find us like joint and several liability? Like, did they give us a apportionment of the liability?
No, they never found anything against us. And my position is, will continue to be, we don't owe it. I think we drew a judge that, in my opinion, should have granted the summary judgment and let us out right away. But factually, so that's why I'm such a stickler on trying to keep us out of, well, I understand, like, we don't want to be involved in their hiring. They own these people when they're in law enforcement roles. We don't.
So if the issue was an issue with the sheriff's office, because I'm about, like, we want to get our money back, because, you know, we got sued,
This
you know,
would
is it
involve-
something that they did, or were we truly liable? You know what I'm saying? So if the sheriff is responsible for the hiring and training, then they should be paying for it, and they should reimburse us for that.
This one was Kissimmee, and given,
Well, Kissimmee Police.
and given when it came up, and the grievance and that's where we're going in the future. We kind of inherited this mess and got ourselves out of it. Now, Kissimmee's still stuck in it, the last I checked.
So in other words, that's separate than, so I guess my original question still holds true then, because active shooters, active shooter, this is law enforcement liability. This is additional coverage that we have for having that presence.
And given where we are getting into being dragged into so much security stuff that I believe is law enforcement, it's well worth the money, only because every lawyer is we're a deep pocket. So they're gonna name us and hope that they can keep us in and deal with it. And I think the next time, depending upon the facts, I'm gonna tell you, we need to just spend the money and fight it and get the ruling that we're not accountable.
But to Mr. Goyo's point though, if we ever were to entertain that idea of guardians, that liability premium would go up significantly.
Oh yeah, if the guardians work for us, we're gonna probably have to get insurance, if that doesn't cover a guardian, to get insurance that does, so there's gonna be a higher cost.
And that was one of the questions I had asked Dr. Pace. We discussed that earlier this week about that same thing.
Motions?
Oh, I'm sorry, is there a motion, John?
Motion.
You want to make a motion?
Somebody make one.
Oh, I'll move to approve 9.1.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bass with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve item 9.18. Any other further comments or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign? Are you in?
I said,
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. 11.03.
yeah, so, this is again, me, Dr. Pace, I had to do a lot of research into the terms and what terms was and so on and so forth, but, it just seems like are we no longer servicing this program ourselves?
I'm gonna yield slightly to Mr. Thorne. I will tell you that we had unexpected staff turnover in the IS department. And because this is such a critical system for functioning of the district's human resources and finance applications, payroll, all of those critical things, we were unable to get somebody on board with the knowledge and skill necessary to service the system. It is a very old system. We've been very fortunate in that we've held the source code and been able to manage it ourselves for years. But we're behind, I'm just gonna be honest, in making sure that we have the cross-training and capacity building internally to keep it running. So this is why we've proposed contracting with 2 outside groups. They'll do different functions, and that's what both 11.03 and 11.04 represent. But I'll yield to Mr. Thorne for more specifics or additional questions that you may have about that.
Yeah. why don't we, I mean, I think you just kind of touched on it, but why don't we have a kind of a plan to make sure that we're not left, you know, without a person here in-house to be able to resolve this?
Sure, so the resource who left unexpectedly handled both the hardware and the software side of things regarding terms, which is our ERP system. So this is part of the continuity plan that we developed after the fact to make sure that this doesn't occur again. So 11.03 is for hardware support for our IBM system that terms runs on. And then 11.03, 4, excuse me, is for the software programming support piece of that. So the plan for that is the person who is a resource for that will have the opportunity to roll over into a permanent position with us, assuming they go through the proper channels and interview process.
It's a way for us to almost have a trial period with these people to make sure that they have the skills, the experience, all of the other things to be a member of the team. That certainly
We've had
has
success with
hurt
that in
us
the past.
by not having that plan, and we know that that's something that we've got to work toward moving forward. It's a dying skill, this particular software, because of the age of the system.
So if we're, and this is why I pulled it actually, if this is an old system, you know, then why are we spending 160 to maintain it as opposed to using this 160 or 180, whatever it was, combined total to migrate to something else, or to have a plan that's more long-term than
So we
the one that's
do
here?
have pieces of that plan ongoing. So part of strategic goal number 3A is to do business process mapping. So that's underway for the payroll portion of that system. So we have to do a complete current state mapping to understand what's going on in that system. So please realize that Terms has been in this district since 1998. That's how old that system is. It's the original beta version of the Y2K version of Terms. And because of that, the company gave us the source code for it. So we were very fortunate to have that. So because of that, we have a zero cost avoidance currently with that system, other than these types of things occurring. But we pay no maintenance. There's no.
So we have saved a ton of money essentially over the past several
Yes,
years.
absolutely.
It's one of the things that the employees complain about, which is why it was even raised.
Correct.
So
So we are aware of that, and we are doing this business process mapping as time goes on. It's a very large project to do that. We have to look at payroll, accounts payable, work orders, you name it, whatever the term system does, we have to look at. We have modernized it in some respects by creating an employee portal. So that's current technology done in current programming standards and languages. So it looks pretty, basically. It's a nice user interface. So we've done that for many pieces of Terms to make it go forward and keep it viable. So we're still looking at doing that in the future. However, please know that at some point, we probably will have to look at this ERP system. Also know that it's tens of millions of dollars to replace that system.
well, there's other integrated systems though, right, that
Oh,
we're
yes,
probably on
absolutely.
right now that we
Absolutely.
can
We
create
look
the
at
module or
PeopleSoft,
add the module or so
Oracle,
on.
and any number of systems, but they're very, very expensive. And I'll be honest, there's been many failures at other districts to try to install these systems. So we have to be very careful and make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we go down that path.
Yeah, you gotta make sure your ducks in a row before you go down the path. All right, with that, motion to approve.
If I can say something.
Let me do the motion first, then we'll get to your question,
Well,
Mr. Steve. No, we got a motion first.
second.
Have a motion by Mr. Guaya with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 11.03. Ms. Castillo.
Okay, thank you. You actually may have already answered the questions that I had, so I just want to make sure that I understand correctly. It sounds like the two contracts that we have forth are actually going to be done by one person or two?
Two people.
Two people?
One's the hardware side and one's the software side.
Okay, so are these, you mentioned something about, something that sounded like at some point these two people would become permanent employees, is that correct?
One. Possibly, one of them.
Possibly, how would you determine which one?
Well, we have to see if the person is a good fit with our team. He has started, or he will be starting. So We want to make sure that he fits in, and we've used this methodology a couple times in the past because it's a really unique situation
Sure.
with those folks. So we just want to make sure it's a good fit and he's comfortable here.
So we know which one of these folks is going to possibly be a permanent, okay, so is this a hardware person or a software person?
Software.
So will they be trained on how to do the hardware by the second person who is, okay,
So we are becoming self-sufficient on the hardware side with folks we already have in place. So that's why we don't need that person to go forward. We're just transferring knowledge from that person.
So
It's
it's just a
things
knowledge
like,
transfer.
how do you bring the system down during monthly maintenance? Things like that he's teaching us how to do, or teaching the staff how to do. So eventually that knowledge will be transferred, and then we won't have a need for him anymore, only on a very rare basis in case something catastrophic happens, but.
And so the sunset of terms in general, do we have a timeline of when that will happen? No.
I cannot predict how long it's gonna take to do the current state mapping.
Okay.
Get that done. So again, like I told Mr. Osceola, the mapping piece is a huge process, and it involves many different pieces of that ERP system. So we have to understand, I know this sounds strange, but we have to understand what we have before we can go forward to a future state.
No, sure, that doesn't
So-
sound strange at all.
Already by doing the payroll mapping, we've streamlined processes, but we've discovered things we didn't know about, which again sounds strange, but we have done that. So I can only imagine what we'll find going into other parts of the system, because it has been modified and adjusted since 1998. So there's things hidden in there that we have to discover. Otherwise, if we were to go off and just stand up another system, there'll be all kinds of functionality missing.
Sure.
And we can't have that happening.
I wonder if there are other school districts that have done a sunset recently of this program or sometime in the near past that we can work with?
Brevard County attempted it.
Okay.
Volusia,
No, okay, so we don't wanna learn from them.
Volusia County is in the process of a 3 or 4 year process right now that they're
Okay.
in. And then there's some very noteworthy ones that occurred on the West Coast that did not go well.
So no good examples.
No. Not to say that there aren't. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd have to go researching it.
Yeah, okay.
Ms. Melendez?
And I can test it, I've done research on this, like I said, I have my degree in IT, and I'm gonna back up Mr. Thorne, and, you know, I'm not like that. But I will defend them, because first of all, it's a programming language. It is not a language that's even taught in school anymore. So you have to like have the legacy to it. Now, and then when I did research too, terms is actually very stable. That's the other thing is too about it, you know, when you get something new, it's like, you guys play video, my son plays video games, you know, when a new video game comes out, yeah, it may sound like it has all the bells and whistles, but it's gonna get lags and crashes. That doesn't happen with terms. So I know terms looks funny, it looks like a dinosaur because it is a dinosaur, but it's a stable dinosaur. They also own the source code, and that's huge, because when you guys program something, it's like, you don't see what's, like right now, I see the screen, you don't see what's going on in the background. We do in terms. If you buy some off-the-shelf product, you don't get to see the code in the back, you just get the front. So if you wanna change something, it sounds so simple, just change it. No, you gotta call them, and tech support ain't gonna go, oh yeah, we'll change it for you for free. And they're not gonna do a custom change for you either, because they're big. Oracle is a billion-dollar company, we're like a flea to them. So if we want Oracle to actually change it, oh my lord, you're talking like moving mountains. Because they have to have multiple school districts, and so I will attest to you, it is millions of dollars. As a matter of fact, it is so much money that I think that the school district may actually have to reserve for it. And I think that's something we're gonna talk about in the budget, because like when I do property management, we know a roof is gonna go bad. We try to save money onto the side to help prepay for it. The ERP is enormous. So even if we wanted to do it, we don't even have the money to do that, because then you have to have special consultants, you have to do the different infrastructure, they may go like your servers don't work, you have to buy a whole new racks to fit it, they have to have new cabling. I mean, that is a workshop on its own. And I think, to be honest with you though, you're gonna have to talk to Dr. Pace about that and think about it someday. It may go bad, or we may have to go in, we're gonna have to save some big money for it. And not just the standing up of it, but the maintenance of it throughout
We've
its
had
life.
some basic discussions about it, so, it's a reality we're gonna have to face at some point because the COBOL programmers who support it are all retiring, so.
You gotta teach a class on COBOL to keep it up. But that's not practical, but that's what I'm saying. Talk to Dr. Pace about it. This is just me, this is the board, that's what I'm saying. The board needs to get direction and talk about how much potential monies we're talking about that, because that's gonna happen in the future. It may be 10 years, but you're right, now we got 10 years to pre-save for it. I don't want it to come to me at the board at the last minute, go, oh my God, now we gotta switch. Now we gotta pay a $20, $30 million bill, that where we're gonna find the money.
There would be an RFP process for this. It would be a multi-year RFP process.
But the point is that we have to still save for it,
Yes.
is what I'm saying. It's like, we could do the RFP forever, but we got the money to sustain it. And so I think that is so critical that the board realizes it. And again, I'm just one, the rest of the board may not agree, but I think that it's prudent for us to know that sometime in the future, it's gonna have to happen. Let's set aside some money now, little by little in our reserves, because we have to pre-fund it. I don't know what the statute allows us to do, something like that, but we know something is gonna come later on, and that's a huge financial bill, and I wanna be prepared for it. And I just think it's fiscally sound to do that, and to be prepared for something that you know it's gonna eventually happen someday.
I will say right now, terms is a living, breathing system. We make adjustments to it every week with stuff. So it's ongoing. Anytime someone needs a change for something that's approved by our change control board, we go ahead and implement it. So it is living and breathing up to the point of what we can do. So, for example, like adding Excel output to reports. So instead of getting a report, you get an Excel spreadsheet. So that's an example of something we're able to do in that system. So, but it is living and breathing, and we adjust it every week.
Because here's the other issue too that I thought about, to let you know. You can have an ERP system that's comprehensive, or you could kind of cheat and just use a whole bunch of different modules for different things. But then the problem is, then they may not talk to each other. So HR has its own database, then finance has its own database. The next thing you got double entry and triple entry, and one report doesn't that's where the issue is. That's why it's such a big issue. When you actually want to do ERP right, you have to be comprehensive and change the whole block. And I remember talking to Ms. Otterson about it, and we spoke about it. She's like, oh, Julius, but I love my HR module. Don't cannibalize my HR module, because I love it. Because I'm telling you, I did a lot of research. And I didn't share it with the board, I'm sorry. But I did. And so Ms. Otterson was telling me, hey,
We're getting way off contract to what this item
yeah.
is.
But anyway, okay, so we'll talk about that later at a different time. So ERP systems later.
Oh, man.
Any other questions? Have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 11.03. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve 11.04.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve 11.04.
Second.
A second by Mr. Bass. A motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Bass to approve 11.04. Any further discussion, board? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0. That brings us to, and if I get out of order, somebody yell at me, 13.01, which is a blue sheeted change that basically removes P.M. Wells and Kissimmee Charter from this agreement.
Motion to approve 1301 as submitted.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 13.01 as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 5-0. Now brings us to 17.01. Again, there are 5
Wait,
blue sheeted items with changes.
wait.
Yeah, we jumped on
Something?
Jumped. Are we
Skip one.
regular?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we skipped. I went too far. Information agenda items, it's all in our packet. There's no one speaking there. I assume we have no issues with that. Brings us to item 15.01. I would like to, I've got some comments on this.
Same.
Not sure first off, I'm just gonna kind of go through my thoughts here. The change in the position has a change from non-exempt to exempt based on the Fair Labor Standards Act. I'm not sure, there's a pretty stringent guidelines on what makes something exempt versus non-exempt. I'm not sure this job title matches that. I'm not sure the exempt would be correct. If we were to make make this change. I think it is in conflict with School Board Rules 2.20, Roman numeral 2. No school board member by virtue of holding elective office shall exercise any administrative responsibility with respect to the schools or as an individual command the services of any school board employee. The board shall not give instruction to or exert undue influence over employees who report directly or indirectly to the superintendent. Third one is item 2.2, School Board Rules 2.20, Rule 4. School board shall not participate in decisions or actions involving hiring, evaluating, disciplining, or dismissal of any employee other than the superintendent. I think it's kind of bad policy to bring a person up to a level reporting to a 5-person board that at any board meeting could be 3-2 against that person. I'm not sure if she reports to the 5-member board, who does the review, who settles board priorities. Does the sunshine law get into this? If there's issues and that person in that position has to do something they don't feel is right, how do they get that worked out? Because I'm not sure it would not be a sunshine violation if they went to another board member. I think having the position report to the superintendent provides transparency on what is going on. I think it's a little bit of bad policy to change individual job descriptions at the board level. What positions would the board want to address? Job descriptions are and pay scales are meant to justify the salary ranges. There's usually consultants that come in and look at all those, and they look at all of them at once or groups of them at once. I think to just pick one out and change that salary range is just, again, not great policy. Rule 3.20, Rule number 3, all members of the instructional education support staff shall be under the general supervision of and subject to direction by the superintendent. Florida statutes 1012.01 provides definitions for both of those, for what what educational support staff is, and this job clearly falls under that. Lastly, the superintendent is the secretary of the board. The responsibilities include doing the minutes and record keeping, which is part of the job description that falls under this job change. I'm not sure if the person reports to the board that the recording and all that could stay with that job description. So those are just my thoughts on this. Based on that, I will go ahead and make a motion to deny the job description and salary level change.
Second.
Discussion.
Sure. Hold on, let me just restate the motion. Have a motion by myself, Mr. Thacker, with a second by Ms. Castillo to deny 15.01. Mr. Melendez, discussion.
Okay, there's a couple of things. Well, number one, I know that we have other reports, like we have the internal auditor, we also have the attorney. Those are reports that can happen to us as well. And the other issue too is the job function itself. Like if you look at the county commissioners have the same issue. The county commissioners have their own assistants.
They report to the county manager.
Right, but they can appoint their own too. It depends on which one. I've worked with different ones where I think Orange County, they appoint their own, they have their own aide. You know what I mean? So, so it's not just Osceola County.
Individually?
Yes,
So I can have one,
absolutely.
but we're
Well,
not
not
all
you.
sharing one.
Not you, but we share because we're fiscally more strong here.
Right.
But in Orange County, each county commissioner gets a specific aide assigned to them. So that's specifically there. So there's precedent for that type of relationship where a board can have an assistant that works for them. Then the other thing I would ask them, if that's gonna be the case, because she does take care of the school board, and we're in the highest of the org chart. So if you are gonna deny this, which is your directive to do that, which I wouldn't wanna support it, then I would ask to see if maybe you can then adjust her salary schedule so that she gets the same commensurate pay as somebody else doing that same position. Because there is somebody else making a level 19 that's working for the superintendent, but she's actually working for the school board. And on the org chart, the school board is higher than the superintendent. So I don't think the commensurate, so if you have an issue with exempt, non-exempt, then I respect that. Then at least then maybe like redo the motion, then to maybe we can redo the job description and just put her up to level 19, but she shouldn't be paid less than somebody that works at a lower level or has lower level of responsibility on the org chart.
Yeah, I think this is bad form in the truest, in its purest form. For one, if all of these concerns could have been made to the superintendent back to us, just like many complaints have been made here forward saying, hey, you could have said that in advance of this situation and so on and so forth. So without any warning, without having had the opportunity to review these and then rebut them appropriately, I would just ask our attorney, can we do this or not, Mr. Koppenbacher?
I'm going to tell you this. I've researched that question. I do not find I think you can interpret that the board has the authority to do this.
It does have the authority.
I think it does.
Okay, so that being said, if we trust our attorney, which I do, then all of those points are made moot. Secondly, just from an organizational standpoint, you have to take care of the people that take care of you, right? And I don't think that in this case, the person that we're speaking to, that's being done for. We have one person who basically is taking care of 5 people, doing the work at the highest level, providing a tremendous amount of support for a variety of different departments and people and offices. Here's the thing, if this person, okay, was, and I'm just gonna say this because I think that this merits a frank discussion. If this person were connected to the group of people who would, in other situations, make a switch like this, would not even come before the board, would get their job titles approved, if they were, fancied or had a specific relationship, then this wouldn't even become a question, it would just go. And it doesn't matter what the policy is, it doesn't matter what rules you pull out. If the majority wanted this done, then it would have been switched without anybody saying a second word, right? If it would have been somebody who they had a private conversation in an office, and they said, hey, this person does this, whatever, then all of that none of this would have mattered. So here we are, discussing somebody who literally serves every single person here in one way, shape, or form, and for this to be even a discussion that's made here in this situation and circumstance, it's terrible. It's terrible, and it is bad form, and that's not how you should treat people. I was very specific in my request initially that if we're going to have this discussion, this would be the improper setting because you treat people in a better way than that. So that's really all I have to say. I think
I
that's
have one comment, then I'll go to you. All of the things I talked about were policy. I was not directing anything towards the person in the position. My issue has nothing to do with the person in that position. It is about the policy of that position. Mr. Melinda?
Now, would you be open then for the matter of equity, supporting it to a level 19 that's similar to the other position that exists? Or that's actually the lower, that's actually working for the superintendent? Because the assistant that works for the superintendent is at a level 19, then do you support then the school board's assistant being at a level 19? Maintaining exempt or not exempt, but then increasing it to level 19 appropriately?
No, at this time, no. I would not support it. I mean, everybody else.
I mean, is there a reason why? I mean, because in terms of equity, the job is doing the same job. And we have a budget.
I don't see it, the jobs are being the same job. And I'm not gonna get into personalities, but one of them's a paralegal, degreed, and supports 2 different people, turning in superintendent. I see them as different.
And I see it as she supports also the superintendent, because the superintendent has some requests. She supports the superintendent and the school board, and she supports 2 people, and we're higher than the attorney. So to me, that's just a matter of equity, and we talk about talent management, and we just had the strategic plan, how to retain talent, and that's top talent, and she does take care of us, And I use her frequently too, and I just think that's very inappropriate to not show that level of support to somebody. And we're only talking 20,000. We have $1 billion budget. We can't give $20,000 to
It's not
somebody
a question of
that
the
takes
20,
care of
it's
us.
not a question of the $20,000. We've got another 8,000 employees that it impacts. 7,000 happening.
But the issue is that this one does the job, though. Like I said, it does a level 19 position, whether exempt or not exempt. You may have a good point on that, because that's just an issue, but at least pay the person for the work they do.
Mr. Blair?
Yeah, we could say that this is not about personalities, but there's only one person who has this job. And so for me, it is about people. It's, you know, it's not about personalities. I think that you're right. It's about people. This is one of the concerns that people, the whole reason that the Trust, Transparency, and Good Governance Committee exists is because people don't feel fairly represented. People don't feel appropriately appreciated, and this is a good example of that. Secondly, I'll just say the other person that we're speaking about, who was a level 19, just received their degree, right? It's something recent, but that person was getting a level 19 prior to that degree. So that's not the issue. So I think that this is a real philosophical issue in how you treat people and how you appreciate people for doing what they do, regardless of what their connection to the people in power is. And that's what this is, in the end, that's what this vote is about. And this vote is about, when you vote, are you protecting the interests of the people here who are equally merit and deserve our respect and appreciation? Or is it only the people who are connected to the people in power who get appreciated in one way, shape, or form that's far different than the other way?
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Batt?
The woman sitting to my right has been a dear friend of mine for 20 years. I've known her as a school board member or school board employee. I've known her as a Little League mom. I've known her, my God, she babysat my daughter. I mean, we're that close. And Tanya does a phenomenal job. I mean, I cannot tell you anything. I can pick up the phone and anything that I need, it's there. And she does go above and beyond. I don't think there's anybody in this room that would disagree with that. I'm talking about the position, though. And when I look and I speak, and I have been speaking across the district with different people. I just don't voice it a lot of times in the room. You know, we've got, when I look at the secretary, the principal's secretary, you know, what kind of responsibility does that person have? That person carries a lot of responsibility. And this position now is already above that. When I look at, you know, Mr. Clinch's, your secretaries or your administrative assistants or Tammy's or Sarah's, I know good and well that they're doing a tremendous amount of work too. And this position is above their positions. So that's where I'm getting, that's where I'm struggling a little with this, because we're talking about equity. I mean, there's a lot of people doing a lot of work in this district. It's not about this lady. I love her to death. She is just a dear friend of mine. But I'm just talking about the position. That's all.
Yeah, and that's what the org chart is. That's what the org chart is for. You know, she's at a higher level. It's like,
I mean, with friends like that, I think you know how the statement goes. The fact is, Dr. Pace, who is your boss?
Board.
Okay. The board is the superintendent's boss. Okay? The superintendent has an assistant. The board, which is 5 people, has 1 assistant. Dr. Pace, how many assistants do you have?
1.
Okay, and then who else is in that office that works as an assistant?
Ms. Martinez is a clerk typist.
But there's people in that office that serve as an administrative support role, correct?
Ms. Williams works for Mr. Phelps, and Hannah has done our COVID call center.
Okay, so, and they all provide each other support in that administrative capacity, is that correct?
As a team, sir.
Okay, so we have a team of people supporting a team of people. We have 1 person supporting the board. And to say that that person is doing when you serve as a secretary in a school, God forbid, for me that's an incredible job as well, but you have a principal and then you have a school to take care of. Here you have 5 board members who work part-time. So we all work part-time. We are all working more or less, we have another life, and then we work here. In order for us to be the most effective board that we can be, we absolutely need the most amount of effort and support from the person that we depend on here, who's here every single day, from 7 o'clock in the morning until, what time is it now, 7 o'clock at night. And to say that that person deserves any less than any other administrative position in the school district is wrong. It sends the wrong signal. Also, we need somebody who also has a degree of independence, the board. Now, I know that the board here is obviously split 3-2, but the fact is an effective board needs an administrative person who can operate with a degree of independence. When our assistant reports to the superintendent, you don't have that independence. Now what you have is kind of somewhat. So you've created everybody on the board being part-time. Now, perhaps the board prefers the part-time role. For me, being elected all of 5 minutes, I've realized this is a lot more than just a part-time job because there's a ton of work that's not being done that should be done. And it's very hard to complete that task when you're not provided with the sufficient amount of support. And you're not rewarding the people who are carrying the burden on a daily basis for doing that, for carrying that water.
Did you have something?
He mentioned it. I don't want to beat that dead horse, but it's just like, again, it's about equity issue. It's about, she reports straight to us. If you want to have exempt, non-exempt, then I don't care. I just think that she deserves the money. She worked extremely hard, and it's the position. It's the position that's there, because whether or not it's her or somebody else on the org chart, that's what it does. Like when we pay an assistant principal, there's a max we pay an assistant principal. They get promoted to principal, we pay them more. That doesn't mean that the principal is better than that person, just that's what that position pays. If somebody's an assistant principal, I don't care how great you are, a principal's gonna make more because that's a superior position on the org chart. And that's the same thing with Tanya. Somebody inferior to her, working for the superintendent, is making more than her, is an issue. That's an issue of equity, and that's a huge issue, and that sends the wrong message. And so that's what the position is. Her specific skill sets report to the highest level on the org chart. She should be making the highest amount of money than any assistant out there. And most assistants wouldn't get mad if they know that. It's like, again, no assistant principal gets mad that a principal gets paid more than them. The assistant principal could have been 40-year assistant principal, and the principal is 1 year. It doesn't matter. The principal is a higher position, reporting on a higher level of the org chart. And I think, to me, that's what it's about too. So it's not even about personalities and everything like that. It's just looking at it from a logical perspective. You look at the org chart, who has the highest amount of responsibility, it should almost be level 20, actually. It shouldn't even be 19. Equity is not even level 19. We're just compromising and making it level 19 because that's what somebody else is making. But technically, they're making more. We pay the chief deputy more than we pay the deputy superintendents, more than the assistants. Does that mean that Mr. Phelps is more important than I think it's Dr. Allen? I won't get calling him Mr. Allen. He's a doctor. He's not a doctor. According to your argument, your logic, he has a PhD. Therefore, Dr. Allen should make more than him. No. And that doesn't make one better. He's the deputy superintendent and makes more than that. Same thing with Mr. Flowers. I don't know if he has do you have a PhD, Mr. Flowers?
Yep.
He doesn't, but he's in the chief of staff and he makes more. That logic, that's just pure logic. Let's put neutrality aside and do things right. And that is a problem, and I guess I see where Mr. Arguello is coming with this task force, but that's the problem. It has to be about equity and the fair treatment of people and a meritocracy. You earn your promotion, you get there, like look at today, we had a couple African-American women, beautiful women. I went out there and I hugged her. Why? Because they earned it. And they earn that position, and that's what I want this district to feel like. You can earn that position and you don't have a glass ceiling to reaching your maximum potential. And that's why I believe that somebody who's at the highest level of the org chart needs to get paid like they deserve to be at the highest level of the org chart. And I'm gonna support every one of you guys to make the best that you can do, and you just know that. For me, you're gonna get the support. I don't care if you're Dr. Allen or Dr. Evans or Mr. Flowers, you do the job right and you're at your organizational chart and you hold yourself accountable, I'm gonna support you 100%.
Yeah, I want the board to know that a failure of this to pass means that I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at all the jobs that have changed, moved forward, gone here, have not followed this particular procedure, and I guarantee you that I'm gonna find jobs where they're great examples of how none of this stuff mattered for different people in different situations. And in fact, it goes contrary. So you get far more than you may be qualified for, far more than you may deserve because of your relationships in this district. And so here we are literally discussing having to fight for the person who literally serves us individually. And that's just a shame. That's a shame.
Well, I go back to my point. We have school board rules about people reporting to the school board, and I have that.
And I'm willing to concede that, if we can make a new motion to just make the position level 19.
I'm not,
I guess can I do that, Frank, after this vote's done? Can I create a new motion to make the position a level 19, keeping the job description the same?
Yes, you could.
Okay, absolutely, that's what I'll do next.
let's start with.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, based on what he just, the advice that he got from the attorney.
What was that advice?
Oh, we'll take the vote, because you have an issue with the exempt position. So as soon as we're done, I'm gonna create a new motion to keep the job description as is. That way, there's no reporting change, just a reflection to a level 19.
Have a motion by Thacker with a second by Ms. Castillo to deny 15.01. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Nay, or opposed.
Robert?
I'm sorry. Aye with the three.
Okay, so motion, that motion.
How did Robert vote, yes or no? For or
It
against?
was 3-2.
Yeah, it was 3-2.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
3-2 against.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, do I motion now or have the motion under new business?
I don't know.
Okay, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, if I can make the motion,
You
I
had a
will.
denial.
If not, I can wait till new business.
I think if we had a denial, you can go back to that. I think so. So,
Go ahead and make your motion.
All right, so I motion then for the position, the job description to remain the same, not be moved from exempt to non-exempt, still report to the superintendent, but adjusted to a level 19 salary range.
I'll second.
a motion by Mr. Melendez, a second by Mr. Arguello.
And just to clarify, this is to change absolutely nothing on that form except to increase the level from what it is to 19,
Yes, that is the intent of my motion.
which would resolve all of these other issues regard 2.2 2.2 for the sunshine and transparency, the job description, 3.2 and the Florida statute. All those issues are resolved with this motion. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
It would resolve the issue of the
Yes.
compensation.
Thank you.
Let me just take the motion. I have a motion by Mr. Melendez with a second by Mr. Arguello to change the salary level from
14 to 19.
14 to level 19. Sure. So I have a question, probably you, Ms. Otterson. Did anybody in your department or your salary expert people go through and evaluate this position and do a leveling?
No, sir.
Okay.
Would-
I guess what my blue on sport would be if HR follows the proper channels and wants to look at the level. But again, we're not looking at other people's levels, and I don't, this whole thing bothers me that we're doing something for one person, we're supposed to be a policy for the district, and I can't.
Well, because there's only one lateral position, that's why. If we were changing the job description of our principal, we'd be doing it laterally. There's only one Tanya, and she's special. You know, and she's special because she reports to the highest level. She has no equivalent, Mr. Tracker. I mean, with all due respect, you're making an irrelevant argument.
Okay.
But that's the reason why, though. Now, I'm not just saying that you're making it irrelevant on purpose, but she has no equivalent. That's the point. She should be technically at a level 20 because she's the highest. There is no other comparison. She's the highest on the org chart. You can't get higher than the school board.
We have a comparison, And the comparison is the superintendent's secretary. That's the only comparison we have. And really then that argument in terms of pay and the level, that should have been made prior to this, and we should have been given the opportunity to say, hey, listen, this is gonna be a mistake because of X, Y, and Z. So we have a comparison. The comparison is a 19. That's what we're asking for. It's absolutely more than just. And I think that we could go through that. I mean, the only difference is a paralegal is that's the only differentiator here, right? But then you have the 1 versus 5. So I just think that we are, and I'm gonna repeat this, for the next 3 years. If you have special relationships with people here in the district, you get special treatment. And when you do not have special treatment here, when you do not have special relationships, then you don't get the same treatment. And that's the problem here. Nobody else would see somebody else slaving away, doing a job, knowing that that person deserves to be recognized more, and you just avoid it. If that person had been from the right place, graduated at the right time, from the right school, this would have been a 2-minute conversation, and then we would be clapping at that person at the podium right now. And instead, we're here arguing for 15 minutes. It's just, in terms of policy, we resolved all the policy issues. You know, we're correcting a wrong. We're not making some great giant change. We're correcting an injustice right now that sits before us. And that's what we're doing.
Ms. Castillo?
Mr. Chair, I think that we have sufficiently argued the point and there was a motion, correct? I think that it's time to call the question. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to call.
Robert wants to say
I
something.
just had a question for Tammy.
There's no, with the call.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
You can, when we come back to the motion, you can ask. This is a motion to call the question. Actually, you can't ask if the question's called. All those in favor of calling the question, you can vote no if you want more time. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign.
Aye.
Motion fails 2-3.
That was a pass, 3-2.
Oh, did you say aye?
No, I said I first, so Robert can speak.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Okay,
ask.
okay.
Okay, and as far as calling the question, I just,
2-3.
Yeah, 3-2, so that Robert can speak.
I hate being in this position because of, and again, and I disagree with Mr. Williams as far as relationships, but that's another argument for another day. The level that moving it up to a level 19, is there a standard requirement for, is there an education requirement? Is there a expertise or longevity what is the requirement for a level 19?
It basically depends on the type of position. Like we have construction positions that you may have to have certain type of licensure to have that pay level. There are supervisory positions that are at that pay grade that would require bachelor's degrees. It just basically depends on the position because we have so many different positions at the school district because we're basically like a town. We've got mental health services, facilities, maintenance, clerical, food service. So we look at all the positions, the level of the degree of work, and then make those determinations.
And I know teaching and administrative is really two separate issues. I understand that, but looking at the pay scale, the pay grade, this would be moving up to a level in comparison to, let's say, a teacher. What would be the comparison on that as far as pay grade?
So a teacher making.
I know it's apples and oranges. I just wanted to.
Right. So a teacher that would make $62,000, they're looking probably at 23 years of experience in the classroom at that rate of pay.
Understand. Okay.
Right around that 23, 24 years of experience.
So essentially, it's the board's pleasure, so it's not like something set in stone. Level 19 depends on the position.
Wait a second, Julius, we've got, is Robert, you finished? Then I got Mr. Aguirre, then I'll come back to you.
No, that's it.
Yeah, so I think that Mr. Bass asked the right question. How do you get to level 19 and then you answered it the right way? It's the board's pleasure, like Julius just said. So the fact is, we can agree that it would make sense. The only other position like hers is a level 19. Is that correct?
We have a clerical position that is a level 19. That is the assistant to the superintendent.
Okay, and then we're talking to the assistant to the board, right? So those are the only two lateral-like positions in the district.
Well, we have if you look at the hierarchy of our administrative support assistants that we have, I mean, our assistants, the assistant superintendent.
Is there any other assistant to the board?
Nope, she's the only one.
Okay, so there's only two leadership admin people, is that correct? One is a 19 and one is not.
There's an assistant to the superintendent that's a 19. And I look at this whole dais as the administrators. So Mr. Phelps and Mr. Flowers, their assistant is 11 to 13.
Let me make my question more clear. The superintendent's assistant gets what?
Pay level 19,
Okay, who's the superintendent's boss?
the board.
Okay. So then you could make the reasonable argument that that person, it would make sense, makes 19. Is that correct or not?
You can make any argument that you
I
want.
understand that. What I want is for you to say, to answer his question correctly, he tried to make the point, okay, that what should it be? Well, there's only one other position like hers, is that correct?
There's one position.
Okay. There's only one person for the board, is that correct?
There could be multiple. You could have a few positions.
How many are there?
Currently, right now, there's one.
Okay, so one person is the assistant for 5 people.
That's how we have it allocated.
But another one who's the assistant for 2 people is a level 19. And she answers to the person in charge, is that correct?
She speaks to Dr. Pace, and then she helps Mr. Kroppenbacher.
Right. And again, who's Mr. Kroppenbacher's boss?
From the org chart, you're his boss.
Right. And who's Dr. Pace's boss? Okay, so then you could make the reasonable argument that our assistant should be receiving the same. Yes or no?
I look at the level of work that people do.
Do you know what Tanya does on a daily basis?
I am aware of her work.
Okay, do you think that she does less?
I
think that we're getting into a very subjective thing when you're trying very hard to answer no. That all the other reasonable people here realize that if one person is making X based on the fact that she serves person X, then the person serving Y would also receive Y. Okay? This is not that complicated. I get it. You're very loyal to your boss. I get it. Okay? You're making that very clear. But the fact is, she's very loyal to her boss, okay? And that the majority here, which is the boss, doesn't want that to happen, so.
I think that we're
But I
okay
think that
with
we've run the
answering
course.
question. That's borderline bullying, and I'm not gonna let her have to go through that. I think that we're
Okay,
good. I
thanks.
think that we have the question already answered, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Melendez, second by Mr. Arguello, to change the salary level to L19. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The motion fails 2-3. Item 16, got an issue? 17. Item 16.01.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve 1601.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 16.01. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. 17.01 is, and through number 5 are changes to the original documentation as blue sheeted items, board, just to be clear on That's what we're doing here. And I think because of these, Lucia, we need to do these probably one at a time. Tanya, or can we
These
do
are
it
the
as
ones
a
that were
block?
sent via email.
Okay, we can do items 17.01, 02, 03, 04, and 5 as one, actually. We could do 1711 if that's the board's pleasure. If not, we do it however. Anyone would like.
I'll motion to approve with discussion.
01 or 11?
11.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, I'm sorry, a motion by Mr. Arguello, a second by Mr. Melendez for 1711 with some discussion.
Yeah, is there a representative from CPPI here, any chance? No? I would like for CPPI, upon winning, first of all, I'm glad that CPPI is on this list. It's a company that I've worked with. They are very good. They're a tremendous general contractor. I have much faith in them. It's a great company. I'm hoping that CPPI will send someone down here and speak about how they're going to involve MBE companies and local companies in this work, and make sure that as much of this money that's being spent to secure our schools is being spent within our community. So those are my only comments.
Board, anyone else? I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 17.11. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 18.01, which is public comment. I have one person who has requested to speak. Joanne Kalana, did I say that right? Kalana or Kelowna?
Kelowna.
Kelowna. Okay, sorry about that.
That's quite all right.
You have 3 minutes to address the board.
Joanne Kelowna, 4701 Ashton Drive West, St. Cloud, Florida. First, I would like to thank the board for agreeing with our governor and banning the critical race theory. I think that was a smart choice. And secondly, I don't know if in the chamber you can hear each other speak. When we're sitting there, thank you, Mr. Arguello, for not wearing your mask because we heard everything you had to say. Everybody else was muffled. And there was so much going on that I really wanted to take notes, but I couldn't understand anything at that point. That's just a comment for hopefully that the mask mandate will be gone next time. Okay, we don't teach our children to hate the police, different ethnic groups. Labeling is the ruination of society today. It's hurting everyone. It's hurting our children, it's hurting government, it's hurting being politically correct. We shouldn't label. Children shouldn't have to choose a gender. What God created us to be, that's what we are. We teach our children values, morals. When a crime is committed, there are no consequences. And there shouldn't be no exceptions. If you commit a crime, there should be consequences. Watching the news today, the destruction from BLM, terrorist groups, government, had no consequences. What kind of message is that sending to our children? So getting to our teachers. Teachers are a privilege, teaching our children. The teachers should stay to history of this country. It's a must. Our Constitution is our American Bible. It's part of our American history and our American dream. Children should be taught the Declaration of Independence, how the 13 states were formed. The most embraceable line in the Declaration is, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by our Creator among the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Doesn't say anything about race or politics. So at that point, I believe that both should be left out of the classroom. Our beautiful Constitution states, we the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice ensure domestic tranquility, provide for common defense, secure the blessing of liberty. We need to reinstate these visions of our forefathers and not erase them. You shouldn't promote your political agenda, no matter what it is. Children should have a choice through education and information available by nonpartisan teachers and nonpartisan groups. We are of these United States of America and all should be treated as such. The children are our future. Children should be taught according to history, according to social studies, not according to the rhetoric of today. Think how you lead. You are the examples of our children. You make strong impressions, so do right by them. Otherwise, if we continue heading in the direction we are today, our tomorrows look very glim. Our divide will be our ruination. Band together, every ethnic group, every religion. At the end, there is no diversity. There is no color. We are all one and the same. And that's how our children should be taught, as all one and not divided. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Brings us to superintendent's recommendations. All right. Dr. Pace?
These are the district level administrator and school-based administrator appointment recommendations, sir.
I'll move to approve item 19.03.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo to approve item 19.03 with a second by Mr. Bass. Board, any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
That was you, John?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Okay. Unfinished business.
Are we adopting these today? Is that what we're?
I don't know, that's what I'm confused on.
From my understanding, these were the recommendations
Yeah.
that,
That's what.
that didn't have a conflict with the LEAs.
Right.
Like the LEAs had issues with body cameras and guardians.
Okay.
This is accepting the other recommendations
Okay.
that we had unanimous consent.
Are we voting on them individually then, or
I would recommend you vote on them as one.
as one?
We don't
So we
really
can't
have
have
a,
Did
we
they have
cannot
the-
vote on these as one because we don't have that option on the agenda, so we've got to do 20.01 first.
I'll make a motion to approve motion 20.01.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 20.01. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 20.02.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 20.02. Board, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 20.03.
Motion to approve.
Now, this is,
Wait a minute, let's get a
Can I-
second.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 20.03. Mr. Melendez, you have a comment?
yeah, the clarification, is this for him to write the resolution, or did he already write a resolution for us to look at?
It is, my understanding was it was to write the
It's
resolution.
to prepare.
Okay, so there's nothing for, because I was trying to find
No,
the
no,
agenda,
no,
I'm like, where's the resolution?
It's for him to prepare a resolution.
Okay, okay.
Just directing.
Roger.
Let's go. Anybody else? Motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Bass to approve item 20.03. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Julius, thank you for all your work in moving those. Next, Mr. Krebenbacher,
I'm pleased to say I have nothing to report.
you have an item, approval of proposed school resource officer contract.
Yeah, I haven't, this is.
Oh, that's what we pulled. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, got it.
Just finished it. Oh, shit.
I thought it was that's cool. New business, I think you have something, Ms.
Yes.
Castillo?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as at least three of us know, we need to select, a member for the advocacy committee. I have served on the advocacy committee for the Florida School Board Association in the past year. We made that decision and Mr. Arguello is my, alternate. Two things. One, I am actually the vice chair of the legislative subcommittee. So I would already be on that board. And also they are asking for us to make a decision as to who will represent us by July 1st, since we actually changed the way that the committees work. So we are asking for someone in the board to represent us.
But John is the assistant, or, what's the word? Alternate. Would make, so I would be fine if John moved the position to the position, to the actual.
So motion.
Hmm?
So moved.
Is there anybody else who's interested?
No,
No, okay, all right, perfect, then I don't think we even have to vote on that, great.
Brings us to board member comments, Mr. Melendez,
No, we said everything already.
Ms. Castillo.
Yeah, let's take some time off.
I have none. Mr.
Oh, I
O'Brien.
wanna thank my son for being patient.
Good job, yes,
Actually,
he's the
Lucas-
hero of this meeting.
And he got all A's,
Lucas
he
is
got all
the
A's on
assistant
his
school
last.
board member of the year for sitting out here through the last two meetings.
My goodness,
And Julie was
yes.
saying he got all A's on his report card.
Great job,
Awesome
Lucas. And you have a great next 9 or 10 days with your dad, so good for you. Mr. Arguello?
Yeah, I have a letter from a teacher who I would like to read into the record. My name is Ruth Nelson. I'm a teacher who is unable to attend tonight's meeting due to having to work a second job. Mr. Arguello has graciously volunteered to read my message that I want to address to the school board members and Dr. Pace. I have come before you many times in regards to insurance and salary. However, tonight I would like to bring attention to the Employee Health Center. There are many things that are so disheartening to myself and many other colleagues and employees of the county. First and foremost, I want to say that we have some wonderful providers that are now working for us and really care about their patients. The issues that we are having is getting in to see our doctor, which many of us have made our primary care physician. Why is it so hard for employees to get an appointment? Then to go in for your long-awaited appointment and see that it resembles a ghost town. Let me explain a little better about my personal frustrations, especially since I tried speaking with upper management with the intent to have someone who I could access and would hear my concerns, not to make me feel it was all my fault. On May 17, 21, I had some horrific back spasms that caused me to leave work in hopes of getting seen by someone fast. I called the health center for an appointment, only to be told that I could get in 2 weeks out. I then asked where I could go see someone like a walk-in clinic. The only place that was recommended was Care Spot on Osceola Parkway. However, I knew that there was some place in St. Cloud that was accepted by our wonderful insurance. It says input sarcasm, and then she quotes. No recommendation was made from the health center. I was seen at the walk-in clinic for Orlando Health in St. Cloud and was told to follow up with my doctor, Dr. Thatch, within 2 weeks. I called the health center to schedule my follow-up. I was told the first available appointment was for June 21, 2021. Of course, I took that appointment. However, the severe back spasms continued and I called to get in sooner. No avail. This is when I got even more discouraged and more aggravated at the programs that we offer that employees can benefit from. After calling and leaving a message for Dr. Thatch, she got me in to see her on the last day of school, May 28, 2021. Graciously, my admin allowed me to leave early to get to the appointment. Here is my major concern. After my appointment, I love Dr. Thatch. I needed to reschedule a follow-up appointment. The options I were given were for June 15th, June 16th, or June 18th. Remember, when I first called on May 18th, the first available to see Dr. Thatch was June 21st. So why was I given so many choices when at the facility for a follow-up? Why was it so hard for me to be seen by a doctor while I was there? There was no one else waiting to see a doctor and very little visible staff in the facility. If we are wanting our employees to use the facilities that we are putting in place, We, the employees, need to be able to access the facility without discouragement. Please help me understand how coming to see our doctors, providers at the center more accessible, So a couple of things. When I met with this teacher, there was, I don't know, several dozen other groups of teachers. There was a group of teachers, several dozen strong. I just asked them 3 questions. 1, how many were satisfied with our insurance and our health care? More than half said they were not. I asked them who was afraid to come to the school. A few. And speak out on the issue. A few raised their hands. When I asked if they felt there would be retribution for them speaking out, more than half raised their hands. So I just want to make clear to all the teachers, to anybody who's in the school, any of the 8,000 employees of this district, you do not have to be afraid of retribution. Number 1, I don't believe that anybody would try. Number 2, I would advocate for you as hard as I advocated for a person this evening. You have allies on the school board. Reach out to your school board members, and the people that you believe will advocate for you, I believe will. So please come to us. Please let us know your issues. Do not be afraid to come forward and to speak to us. I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to write, call, text, email, whatever you need to do, whichever way you prefer. But reach out and let us know what issues you have with the district. I would love to address those. Thank you.
Thanks for reading that. Anything else?
No.
Mr. Bass?
No, sir.
Pace? Nope. With that then, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all very much. Fun.